Hey, are you a business owner, entrepreneur, or professional? If so, we want you to apply to be a featured guest on our show. My name is Adam Torres, and I host the Mission Matters series of podcasts. I've recorded over 3,000 episodes, and we are just getting started. How do you know if you'd be a good guest to be on the show? Well, only one way to find out, and that's to apply, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We want guests that have a story to tell, guests with a brand, a product, or a service that can benefit my audience of listeners. If this sounds like you, go to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. I'd love to talk to you and get to know more about your story. Again, head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, now let's get into the show. Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Money Podcast, your source for all things money. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, today I have Mark Quann on the line, and he's President and CEO over at Remy Group. Mark, welcome to the show.
Hey, Adam, good to have you. Good to have you on. I've been following your content for a lot of time, so it's good to finally just chat with you in person. And looking forward to talking to you today.
Oh man, so I'm pumped about the news you have. So this new book that's out that you just launched. I know it's not your first, but I mean they're all like the first. So your top 25. It's called Top 25 Ways an IUL Can Secure Your Financial Future and Build a Tax-Free Family Bank. So I'm excited to get into this and the inspiration behind the book. But before we do, just to give the audience a little bit of your background, tell us a little bit more about what you're doing over at Remy Group.
Okay, good. So Remy Group was started as a consulting company for business owners. I was in the financial industry for a lot of years working with individuals, and I realized that, it's much better to work with a business owner because a business owner provides the jobs. So we really help with a lot of work with a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs. We just want to make sure that they're doing everything right financially. Remy Group is an acronym for Real Estate, Mortgage, Insurance, Investing. So we do like a full review to look at all those different areas for the business owner, make sure they're reducing taxes in all those different areas, and just make sure that that business is thriving and paying those taxes. And then we're doing financial literacy seminars for the employees of the company. That way we can help the business owner, and then we can also provide consulting services to help the employees of the business.
That's awesome. And I think it's a good transition. So let's just dive into this book. So top 25 ways an IUL can secure your financial future and build a tax-free family bank. First off, what was the inspiration behind this?
It's really, I tend to write books on kind of what's going on in my life at the time. And, my first book was about debt because, I was working with so many clients that were in debt. I wanted to write a book on, how the banks get you into debt. And that's when I wrote Rich Man, Poor Bank and then the systems they use. And I was starting to make more money. So I wrote the book Top 10 Ways to Avoid Taxes just because I was making more money. And I was like, wow, I got to share some of the ways that people generally avoid or reduce taxes legally in all those different areas. And then it was coronavirus started and I was at home and I kept getting these same questions over and over and over about the topic of IUL. And I was like, man, I got to start writing. So I was writing an article for just employees and some of my clients just to really expand on that issue. And I just kept writing and writing and writing. And I was like, wow, I should have a book here. So decided to, just format it into a book. I released it a few days ago and it's been selling really well on Amazon already. So we're getting it out there and just want to promote it. Why I wrote the book is really important though, because it's really having two things. One, it's really asset protection. How do you protect your assets from a stock market crash? How do you protect your assets if you get sick? How do you protect your assets if you die? How do you protect your assets if taxes rise? And it's really a little bit of a discussion on non-correlated assets, meaning that assets that don't just move with the economy. If all your assets are betting upward and the economy crashes, you're going to lose all your assets. So how do you just protect your assets? And specifically from rising taxes, because I'm pretty certain the taxes are going to rise dramatically for pretty much anybody who's making money with $25 trillion in debt currently, Medicare, Social Security, all those things are underfunded. I mean, the United States is legally bankrupt but they just don't follow the tax codes that everybody else has to do or compliance. So, but yeah, the U.S. is in a lot of trouble. And I think that people have to, if they're starting to accumulate assets, they just have to have a higher financial education to learn how to protect those assets from all those risks that we have now with, a new COVID world, but also people went through 2008, they lost a lot of money. So it's risk management and also just making sure, like, if you have parents who, maybe don't have a lot of money, make sure they have things like long-term care insurance, because they could lose all their assets too, and they'd be coming home to live with you because they lost all their assets because they didn't protect their assets. So it's really just a short book. It's a quick read, and I've been getting some incredible feedback from people who have 20 years experience in the insurance industry. Like, wow, I'm learning a lot from this myself.
So I like the way the book is laid out, because it's really simple for somebody to go through, and like, especially if they don't. So we don't have the time on this show to go through and what each one of these products mean. And by the way, even if we did have the time, I wouldn't. You know why, Mark? Because I like helping authors sell books. So I want my audience to go out on Amazon and grab this thing. And so if you need, first off, just some basic introduction to different types of life insurance, I mean, it's all here. So under Part 1, Introduction to IUL, I mean, it goes through universal life, variable, IUL, whole life, index, universal life. If you don't know what these terms mean, then you definitely want to pick up the book so you can learn and read about it. But then it goes further along to Part 2, 21 ways to build it. So it's talking about lifetime planning, and then you go into ways to protect it. So obviously protecting your retirement accounts, and then you go into Part 4, which is your legacy and legacy planning. I do want to spend a little bit of time on this, talking about legacy planning and the importance of that. So what are you hoping? I know there's many things here, because there's a lot of different sections here, but what are you hoping one of the main things are that people that pick up this book get from it regarding the idea of legacy and legacy planning?
Okay, so one thing that people don't understand is the topic of IUL is probably the one of the most misunderstood topics of anything. It's really become a Swiss Army knife where pretty much anybody can use it, whether it's for business purposes or to reduce or avoid taxes or retain employees. It could be for, again, just protecting your legacy. I threw a chapter in there on how to grow your retirement accounts by using an IUL. And you're like, well, how do you do that? Well, it's one of the chapters we covered in there, and that's risk management, fear management. The average investor makes around 4% rate of return on their investment accounts because it's fear. They're just scared, and then they're greedy and they're scared. So it's just really understanding all the uses, and really that's why I call it top 25 ways, because there's so many uses. And if you don't need it, your parents probably need it. If maybe your brother needs it. There's just almost anybody that I sit down with them and I educate them on this topic, they go, hey, I want to do this. Now I have clients who are very affluent and they're doing, a couple $100,000 a year into an IUL. And then I have clients who are just starting out, who they're doing $100 a month because they're just starting out. They have some kids, that sort of thing. And they're doing $100 a month. So IUL can be built at any different level for the investor. And we also cover costs of like how to use term insurance in the book to reduce your overall costs, right? So it's not really a book on how to use IUL. It's also a book on how to reduce the cost of insurance, how to reduce the cost of long-term care to protect your assets, and all those different things. So I provide a lot of content there, and there's some of the other things on financial education, and also how you don't need to use the banks anymore, or how to use the banks even to make money. So there's just a lot of different content that kind of rolled over from my first and second book. I kind of enjoyed writing it. I have a love and hate relationship with writing because it's so long between writing it and then formatting it and getting out. So it's taken me, I've been in formatting and things for about 3 months on this book, just trying to get it out there and make the book look really good and maximize the value for the readers.
Man, that's fantastic. And what a great story and a great reason for writing the book. So this has been great, Mark. So that being said, if somebody is listening to this and they want to learn more about Remy Group or they want to pick up your book, I mean, what's the best way for them to connect with you and your brand overall?
Okay, so as far as the books, they just go to Amazon if they want any information on my books. They can just put my name, Mark Quann, last name Quann, into Amazon. My books will come up. Within the books, when you read the books, my contact information is there. email address to email the company. Instagram, just Mark Quann on Instagram. That's how a lot of people reach out to me, is through Instagram. And other than that, that's pretty much the best ways to get hold of me, or just, find out what my company does and how my books can help.
Fantastic. Well, Mark, really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing more about your background and all the great work that you're doing over at Remy Group. And congrats again on the new book. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget, subscribe to the podcast, especially if you're a new-time listener. Love to have you be a return listener. I have some more great guests coming up for you. And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Money, definitely hit the subscribe button there. But also, leave us some comments on that video. Love to know what kind of projects and things that you're working on. And Mark, thanks again for coming on the show.
Appreciate it. And thanks for having me, Adam.